Okay. Hi, Harrison Taylor. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. As we were talking about just before we got on, I like your fireplace back there. Is it that cold in North Carolina where you are that you need that?
Yeah, it is right now. It's raining outside, and whenever that happens, it's freezing. At least for us people from North Carolina.
So it's cold and damp outside now, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So you've got a book to promote, and let's see. The title of the book is Those Who Hunt Wolves. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And it's your debut novel, so that means first one. Before we get to that, though, I want to just do a little bit of your backstory. So you told me before the interview that you're a physician. How long have you been a doctor?
I've been a doctor now for I finished training about 3 years ago. Yeah. So I've been a full-fledged doctor for about 3 years.
Okay. Are you a general practitioner?
I'm a neurologist.
Oh, a neurologist. Okay. And just for people who don't know what that is, what is exactly what do you do?
So, neurology is basically the study of the nervous system. We deal with all types of disorders that are associated with the brain, the spinal cord, and then all the nerves in the arms and legs that are connected to the brain and the spinal cord.
Would you say most of your patients are car accident victims?
Um, no, I would not. Although we do get some, I do have some patients who are car accident victims. For the most part, seizure patients, folks with headaches, patients, people who've had strokes, that sort of thing.
What about people that have industrial accidents with the bad backs and things like that? Do you deal with them as well?
Absolutely. So yeah, I get patients all the time who have had, back injuries, who have back pain, neck pain, that sort of thing. Absolutely.
It's too bad you're so far away. I come see you because I've had back pain for decades because of a car accident. And
Oh wow.
this was back in the early 80s when I had the accident. And at that time, they told me, well, we could do surgery, but there's a 50% chance we can fix it or 50% chance you won't walk. And they said, or
Right.
you can just leave it alone and deal with the pain. And I chose that because the idea that I wouldn't be able to walk at all was more frightening than, dealing with back pain. So I think maybe the surgery has come a long way since probably the 80s.
I would definitely agree with that. Techniques change over years. What was in vogue, so to speak, 5 years ago is outdated now. So I definitely would recommend you getting another opinion regarding that.
All right, it might be something to consider. Anyways, we digress. Uh, on your bio, it says that you grew up watching Westerns and James Bond with your dad. I'm a big James Bond fan as well. So, was that sort of the inspiration for this book, or was there something in particular that sort of sparked you to say, hey, I need to write a book?
That's a great question. It was actually a couple of things that kind of came into place. For this book in particular, I in college did scripts. I used to write scripts for guys who just had camcorders and wanted to shoot something. And I had a friend come to me, excuse me, who wanted me to write them a story about a heist gone wrong. So I wrote them this very elaborate story, and it had all these sequences and all this cool stuff. And it got rejected because they just didn't have the budget. And so my thought process went from, instead of writing, screenplays and scripts that if you don't have the budget, you can't do it, there is no budget for imagination. So that really inspired me to write this book.
No budget for imagination. I like that. I think that's very well put. And I think that's something that I'm going to pass on. Do you mind if I steal that? Is that all right? Can I steal that?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Okay. There's one talking point here that I got a kick out of, and I wanted to bring it up. says the difficulties that arise when family does not support a young creative mind. Were your parents not supportive of you being a writer? Well, you wrote this book later in your life, so I'm wondering, was this something you aspired to do when you were young and they said, no, 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 you got to make a living, you better go be a doctor?
So my parents have always been supportive whatever I do.
Oh, good.
Actually, it's funny, medical school, my father constantly asked me, "Are you sure this is what you want to do? Because you're gonna have to deal with dead people." That was his thing. You're gonna have to deal with dead people, right? And so my family they've always been supportive of my decisions. However, there's always that pressure, and it's not a pressure that anyone speaks of in some cases, especially in my case, but there's always that feeling, that pressure that you need to do something quote unquote productive. You need to do something that's going to you can take care of yourself and your family. um I didn't give my parents the chance to tell them, hey, I want to be a writer. And I didn't give my parents the chance to say, we support you or we don't support you, to be honest with you. And one of the reasons for that is because I always wanted to be a physician and I always wanted to take care and help people. So, what happened was that I ended up becoming a doctor and just feeling like there was something missing. And that was that creative aspect. So, long story put, no, my parents were very supportive of my decisions, and they still are.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I know from personal experience that I started out as a musician and I was playing piano since I was 3 years old, and it was something that I wanted to continue on as a career. And my parents were like, well, we like your playing, we think you're really good, but
Yeah,
you need to go find a real job. And it
yeah,
was always that attitude, and it held me back. And in fact, I went that way and got a real job for 20 years and regretted it because as soon as I had enough money to come back to being a musician and an artist, I did. So it
right,
was something that gnawed at me for my whole life. So I think it's important that parents support the kids if the kids have real talent. You have to make that determination too, because if it's just a singing in the shower thing, you may want to push them towards being a doctor or a lawyer or something and then do it as a sideline. But
right.
sometimes it's hard to make those kind of decisions, yeah?
It is, and it's hard to make those decisions when you're young, you know, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I was 16, 17, I knew I wanted to be a physician. At the same time, when I look back on it subconsciously, I knew that I've realized that I've always been this artist. I've always been this person who wanted to write. I've always been into music. Um, I played the drums, played piano, that sort of thing. Um, but it's just kind of one of those things that sometimes you don't really realize that until you realize the kind of person you are, and then you pursue those things later on in life, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I agree. It's a better late than never.
Most definitely.
And you don't look that old. I think you got lots of time left that you can pursue this. With that, let's segue to your book. So your book again is called Those Who Hunt Wolves. It's your debut novel. Where did the story come from? Tell us a little of the backstory of the story.
I have always been a fan of James Bond movies, espionage movies, stories that have a twist to them, but they have a lot of action suspense. Um, as I said before, this all started with me writing a story about a heist. Um, and what I wanted to do was tell a story about a heist, but there was a lot more levels to it. There's more depth to it. It wasn't just your typical robbing a bank heist, but it was more so robbing something of importance. And so I came into this story with a thought process of, yeah, we're going to steal something, but we're going to steal something that basically, if it ends up in the wrong hands, a lot of people could get hurt or die. And that's where this came from.
Are they stealing a nuclear weapon?
So they're stealing a special weapon known as the Blackout. It's a very secretive, very
Ah,
dangerous weapon. That, you know, if you read the book, you'll definitely find out about it, and you realize that if this weapon ends up in the wrong hands, you know, that could be game over for the free world. And this is what the main characters have actually stolen, and it causes for their organization to go after them. And this is what the story builds on.
okay. Well, obviously, this sounds like it would make a great film. Is that something you're going to pursue with this?
Well, you know, if I definitely write my work with the thought process of it being a movie. I want when a reader sits down and reads this, they feel as though they're watching a movie. So if anyone comes to me and says they'd like to turn this into a script or make this a film, I'd be all ears for it. Absolutely.
How are you at writing a screenplay? You think you could convert it yourself, or would you want someone else to do it?
I could definitely convert it myself, no problem. Um, if someone more poised wants to do that, though, I have no problem taking a back seat, though. So
Is the book out now?
the book is out now. It just came out on Tuesday. You can pick it up at Amazon or Ingram Sparks.
We do have to wind this down. We are quickly running out of time. My guest is Harrison Taylor, and his book is called Those Who Hunt Wolves. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yeah, if you want more information about the website, excuse me, about the book, you can check out metalroosterpublishinghouse.com. We're actually in the process of building the Harrison Taylor website right now. It should be available shortly.
Metal Rooster, did you say?
Metal Rooster Publishing House, that's right.
Publishing House. Okay. All right, great. Well, Harrison, thanks so much for coming on this show. It was nice meeting you, nice chatting with you. Best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had a great time.
You know, I just noticed your fire went out.
Yeah, it does that. It'll come back on in a second.
Oh, it's on a like a thermostat, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.